Now it's got a massive cam. All right, let me turn this thing on. Coming to you live today at Grubbs Motorsports and Grubbs Motor Cars. We've got this thing's not even working. Piece of junk. Anyway, we got a Lonestar Cobra. This car was built in Texas. If you know anything about Cobras and the Lonestar, the claim to fame for this was it was a big man's car. Back in the 80s, 90s, a lot of guys stretched these cars for more foot room. The originals were pretty small, so if you're 6 foot tall, you're kind of wedged in there. Lonestar fixed that problem. They made the car proportionally wider and longer so that it didn't look like a limo stretched out car like some of the others. So this car is going to be longer and wider. It's also got a whole lot more interior room if you look at it. Seats are laid back a little bit, a little different than what you see on some of these, but it's nothing weird about it. Just got a little different angle. So it was their own design. Hand laid fiberglass bodies. I know the guy that made the mold of this car originally, Fernando. He helped make the first mold. They went through 2 or 3 while they were still in business. That company has been sold. Lonestar is now kind of taken over by another company in South Texas, so you can still get some of the parts for this car if you need them. Boxed chassis. They've got a square tube frame. In my opinion, it's almost overkill. Probably the most bars you'll ever see in a chassis is on a Lonestar car. I mean, they have braced the heck out of it, so it's super rigid. They ride pretty good. This is a solid axle car, so it's got a 9-inch Ford. It's got their own front suspension. It's kind of a hybrid. I mean, it's really not even Mustang 2. It's their own design, so it's an A-frame construction. Hydraulic clutch, dual master cylinders. It's got 4-wheel disc brakes. We just put brand new tires on it. This car set for a good while, so we came back and went through it. It had an old, antiquated fuel injection system on it that just wasn't working and wasn't tunable, and nobody supports it. So, my opinion, I kind of like a carburetor on a Cobra, so we switched that back over, put a brand new distributor, put a good carburetor that we had here in stock, went through it, tuned it. It runs great. We'll take it out for a little ride here in a minute. Got all the good stuff in it. It's got the 5-speed. Not having any beans, I want to retract that statement. It actually runs pretty good. You never know with all that Ford power. They can sneak up on you. All right, coming back at you live again. We've got a revisionist statement to make. The transmission is not a 5-speed. It is a T56.6. It's actually a pretty nice upgrade if you're into 6 speeds. Here we go. So flip the key on, and it's got a push button. It's got the righteous Grubbs Motorsports tune-up in it, Jordan. When you have to get off the ignition switch before it's even running, you know that it got tuned here at the shop. You can take a look at the engine. It is a 428. Don't know just everything in the world about it. It is aluminum head engine. Older stuff, I'm guessing Edelbrock's, but I'd be lying if I told you for sure. It's a nice piece, though. It's got a healthy cam. We just put a ready-to-run distributor in it, so it's got all electronic ignition. A new air cleaner. It's got a Griffin radiator. It's got a stereo. A lot of Cobras don't. This one does have a stereo. It's got the oil cooler up front. And if you look at the paint on this thing, Jordan, this car was painted, I believe, by the paint. They call it Paint House in Houston. There are 2 or 3 little flaws on this left quarter. I like to try to be descriptive about what we're selling. We could either touch them up, which is kind of the homeboy way of doing it, or we could actually respray this side over here. It's not a super easy job. Some of that will land on if you want us to do it or if you want to handle it yourself. We can work that into the price on the sale. The owner of the car that I'm selling this for, he said just kind of leave that up to the buyer. So if we get somebody serious on it, we can definitely either work that in or just touch it up for you and make it look presentable. ceramic coated side pipes. It's actually got knockoff wheels on it, so you're going to see that's a bit of an upgrade over some of the cheaper kit cars that you'll find out there that just have a cover over the lug nuts. These actually have the the pin drive with the knockoff and the safety wire on there, so that's probably $1,000 or $1,500 upgrade over a regular old wheel. So you'll find in the back we've got a car cover in the trunk if you want to check this out. Trunk's finished out nicely. A lot of these cars you'll see they won't even have carpet in here. This one's all carpeted, also painted. Overall, the paint and bodywork is really good. That company is pretty well known for doing some pretty good paint work. So I usually knock everybody else's paint work because it's not very good. Everything I've seen of theirs is pretty decent. So you'll even see under the hood, they went through the trouble of striping the bottom of the hood. That's a lot of work. It's kind of one of those deals you just don't see that often. Aluminum dash. It's got VDO gauges. It's got RJS seat belts. It's got a fire extinguisher. It's got the correct Motolita steering wheel. Pretty nice car, really. And like I said, it sounds good, runs good. It's an older car. I don't know the exact year. I'd have to look at the title, but it's going to be in the 2000s. That's kind of when this car was in its heyday. They built a ton of these cars, so a lot of forums out there about them if you want to learn some more about the Lonestar. It's got the Lonestar tag in the door, which is the correct VIN number. They were pretty good about stamping the chassis on these. I've done quite a bit of work on these, or we have here at the shop, so you'll see that this one does have the original Lonestar Classics with the VIN number and everything. So looks like it's car 71, so this is a pretty early car. You can go for a ride in it.